The woman was crying so quietly that most people would have missed it. But the twins didn't. Tears slid down her cheeks and dropped onto her folded hands as she sat alone on the park bench, shoulders shaking, eyes fixed on nothing. The afternoon was loud with children and laughter, yet she looked like she existed in a different world, one where sound had been turned off. "Don't cry, ma'am," a small voice said. She startled and looked up. Two identical little boys stood in front of her, maybe 6 years old, their hair neatly parted, their shoes scuffed from play. One of them held a half-melted ice cream, the other clutched a red toy car. "You can borrow our dad," the second twin added, nodding seriously as if offering an umbrella in the rain. For a moment she thought grief had finally cracked her mind. She let out a shaky laugh that broke into another sob. "What? Our dad fixes sad people," the first boy explained. "Sometimes with pancakes. And jokes," the second added. "Bad ones." Before she could answer, a man jogged toward them, panic written across his face. "Eli, Noah, what did I say about talking to strangers?" The woman wiped her face quickly, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, they didn't do anything wrong. I was just—" She stopped. The words jammed in her throat like broken glass. The man followed her gaze to the empty space beside her, the way her hand kept reaching for something that wasn't there. His expression softened, but something dark flickered behind his eyes, something practiced and hidden. "I'm Daniel," he said quietly. "I hope they didn't bother you." They were kind," she whispered. "Kinder than most adults." The twins looked proud. Daniel hesitated, then sat on the far end of the bench, keeping a respectful distance. "You don't have to explain anything," he said. "But if you want to sit here and cry, that's allowed. This bench is good for that." The woman laughed again, a sound edged with pain. "I'm Mara." The twins climbed onto the bench. Between them, like it was the most natural thing in the world, Noah leaned closer to Mara. "See? Borrowed. Something about the simplicity of it, borrowed. Not owned, not permanent, cracked her open." Words poured out before she could stop them. About the house that was too quiet. About the chair at the dinner table that would never be filled again. About the phone call that changed everything in one ringing second. Daniel didn't interrupt. He watched the trees instead, jaw tight, knuckles white, as if holding himself together took effort. When Mara finally fell silent, exhausted, Eli spoke softly. "Our mom went away too." Daniel stiffened. "She didn't die," Noah added quickly. "She just left. In the night." The air shifted. Mara looked at Daniel, suddenly aware that his kindness wasn't simple. It was layered, heavy, earned the hard way. "I'm sorry," she said. "So are we," he replied. The twins hopped down. "Dad?" Eli said. "Can we do pancakes?" Daniel looked at Mara, uncertain. She should say no. She knew she should. But the thought of going back to the empty apartment made her chest ache. "I don't want to impose," she said weakly. "You wouldn't be," Daniel said too quickly. Then softer. "Sometimes having someone else at the table makes the ghosts quieter." That night, Mara sat in a small kitchen that smelled like butter and sugar. The twins argued over who got the biggest pancake. Daniel burned the first batch and made a joke so terrible it actually made her smile. For the first time in weeks, she slept without crying herself awake. She didn't notice the locked door at the end of the hallway, or the way Daniel stood in front of it whenever one of the boys wandered too close. She didn't hear the phone buzzing in Daniel's pocket, again and again with messages he refused to read. And she didn't know that borrowing their dad was the most dangerous thing she could have done. The next morning, Mara woke to the sound of whispered arguing. She lay still on the couch, listening. "You promised," a woman's voice hissed through the phone. "You promised you wouldn't let anyone get close." Daniel's voice was low, strained. "She's not staying. You said that last time." Silence. Then Daniel spoke again, and the words made Mara's stomach drop. "If they find her, they'll find the boys." Mara's breath caught. She shifted, and the floor creaked beneath her. The call ended instantly. Daniel turned and saw her standing there, pale and shaking. "What did you mean?" she asked. "Who would find me?" He looked at her for a long time, like a man deciding whether to jump or burn. Then he sighed, the weight of years pressing into that single sound. "My wife didn't just leave," he said. "She disappeared after agreeing to testify against her brother. Organized crime. When she vanished, I took the boys and ran." Mara's mind raced. "And me?" You were in the courthouse the day she disappeared, he said quietly. You sat 3 rows behind her. Mara staggered back. The memory slammed into her, the trial, the threats, the accident that killed her husband weeks later. The feeling of being watched ever since. They think I know something, she whispered. Daniel nodded. And now they know where I live. A knock echoed through the apartment, sharp and deliberate. The twins appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. Dad? Daniel moved fast, ushering them behind him. He grabbed his keys, his phone, a small bag already packed. Listen to me, he said to Mara. Take the boys and go out the back. There's a neighbor, Mrs. Klein. Tell her everything. She'll help. What about you? He forced a smile. I'll be right behind you. The knock came again, harder this time. Mara took the twins' hands, heart pounding. At the door, Eli looked up at her. You won't cry again, right? She swallowed. I'll try not to. As they slipped out, raised voices erupted behind them. A crash, a shout, then silence. Hours later, police lights painted the street red and blue. Mrs. Klein held the boys close. Mara stood numb as officers spoke in hushed tones. Daniel had been taken away, alive but bleeding, accused of things that didn't match the man who made bad jokes and burned pancakes. Weeks passed. Then months. The charges fell apart. The real criminals were arrested. Daniel came home thinner, quieter, but free. Mara was there waiting, the twins racing into his arms. She knelt in front of him, tears in her eyes again. But this time they were different. I don't want to borrow anymore, she said. I want to stay. Daniel looked at his sons, then at her. Are you sure? Eli grinned. We already shared him. And for the first time since loss had hollowed them all out, they sat at the table together. Not borrowed, not temporary, but choosing each other, knowing full well how fragile happiness was, and daring to hold it anyway. Happiness didn't arrive gently after that. It came in cautious steps like someone testing cracked ice. Daniel flinched at sudden noises. Mara still woke some nights reaching for a hand that wasn't there. The twins learned the difference between safe secrets and dangerous. Silence far too early, but they stayed. Days turned into routines. School drop-offs where Eli insisted on waving until the bell rang. Noah asking Mara to check. Under his bed every night, just in case. Daniel fixing broken cabinet doors that didn't need fixing, as if repairs could keep the world from falling apart again. One evening, as rain tapped against the windows, Mara found the locked hallway door open. Inside was a small room filled with boxes. She froze, heart pounding, afraid she had crossed an invisible line. Daniel appeared behind her. I was going to tell you, he said. She turned slowly. What is this? Everything I was afraid to unpack, he replied. Inside the boxes were photographs, letters, court documents, children's drawings carefully saved. Proof of a life constantly interrupted. Proof that he had always been running, always ready to leave. Mara picked up a picture of the twins as babies. Daniel's arms wrapped around them, eyes exhausted but fierce. You don't have to keep living like this, she said. He shook his head. I don't know how not to. That night the twins crept into the living room, dragging their blankets. We had a bad dream, Eli said. All of us, Noah added. Daniel sat on the floor between them, back against the couch. Mara joined, the four forming a small, imperfect circle. Dad, Noah whispered. Are you going to disappear too? Daniel closed his eyes. His voice broke when he answered. No, I promise. Mara reached for his hand, steady and warm. None of us are going anywhere. The promise felt terrifying. It also felt true. Weeks later, a woman appeared at the park bench where it had all begun. She stood watching the twins play, uncertainty written across her face. Daniel went pale. It's her, he whispered. My wife. The twins froze when they saw her. Mara felt the past surge up like a storm. The woman approached slowly. I just wanted to see them, she said. I'm not here to take anything. The boys didn't move. Then Eli stepped forward. Why did you leave? Tears filled the woman's eyes. Because I was scared. And because I thought leaving would keep you safe. Noah shook his head. Dad stayed. Silence stretched between them, heavy and final. I know, she said softly. And I'm grateful. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't ask to come back. She simply looked at Daniel. You did what I couldn't. When she left, the twins clung to Daniel like anchors. Mara watched him breathe through the moment. watched him choose stillness over running. That night, Mara stood in the kitchen, staring at a positive pregnancy test, hands shaking. Fear and wonder collided in her chest. When she told Daniel, he didn't speak at first. Then he laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound, and cried at the same time. "We're really doing this?" he asked. She nodded. "If you want to." He knelt in front of her, pressing his forehead to her stomach like a prayer. "I've been borrowed my whole life," he said. "I want to belong." Months later, as Mara sat on the same park bench, twins on either side and Daniel beside her, she felt a strange sense of symmetry. A woman across the park sat alone, shoulders shaking. The twins noticed instantly. They looked at Mara, then at Daniel. "Can we?" Noah asked. Mara smiled through sudden tears. Yes. The boys ran toward the stranger, carrying kindness like something meant to be shared. And for the first time, Mara understood. Love wasn't something you owned. It was something you dared to offer, even when it could break you. Especially then.